Hello, everyone. Welcome to this journey. If this is your first time here, then I recommend to start at episode 1, which is linked for you in the description box below. And if it's not your first time here, then welcome back. In this episode, I will introduce to you guys the next energetic tool. So be sure to stick around, as it's been a very helpful tool to me still today when navigating crazy times. And it seems that the craziness is pretty much ongoing now. And afterwards, I will dive back into the first few months of the expedition and tell you about a piece of information that brought a lot of clarity into what I was experiencing. So, the third energetic tool is called In Two Places at Once. And I remember quite vividly the first time I applied it. Obviously, when I started out on this path and journey, I did not necessarily have conscious awareness of the energetic tools that were available and that I was intuitively using. It was rather only through time that I started recognizing a pattern and understanding ways of approaching what I was experiencing that would, in a way, simplify the situation, hence these tools. I remember the first time I used this tool in this life phase so vividly, as it was the day my then life partner came back after being absent for about 10 days, and to my surprise, had no intention of working things out, but rather had decided to end the relationship. I remember standing there, listening to what he was saying, being baffled, yet simultaneously I was able to enter another state of being. In a way, I was deeply immersed in the situation and in the pain of what was happening, yet I was in a higher state of being. I was somehow also an observer of the situation. I was observing, listening to his words, watching his body language, and tuning into the energy I was picking up. I asked him for the reason why he is ending the relationship. He replied that he wouldn't love me anymore. I remember the punch-like feeling I felt in my gut, and just as vividly, I still remember being the neutral and calm observer of the situation and thinking to myself, what an odd thing to say. I know he loves me, so why would he give that as a reason? What has happened to him in these 10 days? Because he somehow seems different, somehow disconnected. This wasn't the only time I navigated a situation with the help of this tool. As you probably remember, it was the year 2020 and the world was pretty much going mad. At that time, this tool generally came in quite handy as a way to center oneself, discern the input and experiences that were washing over us like a tsunami, and connect with an innate higher aspect, so to speak. One thing that is important to mention about this tool is that it is not a form of dissociating. So be careful of leaving your body or numbing yourself in moments of pain, because being in two places at once means that you are fully in your body, yet you can hold two states of being and awareness. As with all the energetic tools I introduced to you, they are available to you at all times. You don't have to activate them or prepare for them. First and foremost, you just need to have the awareness of their existence. However, being in two places at once requires you to acknowledge that there is an aspect of you which extends beyond your human self, that is always connected to you, is wiser than you, and generally knows more than you in any given moment, as it can see beyond time and space. In spiritual jargon, we call this aspect the higher self. But please feel free to identify it as whatever you find most suitable for you. And beyond that, all it requires, once you have the awareness of that higher aspect of yourself, and once you have the awareness of the existence of the tool of being in two places at once, is just to practice it. In any given moment, in any situation of your life, you can practice being the human self and yet having the viewpoint of your higher self simultaneously. Basically, being able to switch in that observer mode at the same time while you're going through that particular situation. Now, coming to the next part of this episode. When I was catapulted into this intense experience and phase of my life that I call the 4-year expedition, I could not just accept things and, as they say, move on, because nothing made any sense. And I'm too much of a curious person to take things at face value, not question them, not go down rabbit holes, not try to decipher them and move on. Beyond that, it wasn't even possible. Energetic ties didn't let me. To me, it was clear that this wasn't a normal connection, this wasn't a normal breakup, and what was pulling at me was not just heartache. I had work to do. It wasn't the end of a relationship, but rather a shift into a new life phase taking place in another realm altogether. I've had other relationships end. They were done fairly quickly and life went on. But this was different, and there was no denying it. I tried a few different ways of handling things and getting answers. And as I had already entered an energetic approach to life, most of these were through psychics and healers and my own intuitive research. And so it was about 4 months into this life phase that I came across the term Twinflames. Now, later I will do a deep dive content for you guys where I go into how I see the various types of soul connections, all the misconceptions, the prejudices, and also the false info. So stay tuned if you like. But for now, I can tell you that I researched a lot back then. I looked into various terms, messages, messengers and their views, and I always tuned back in with myself to discern the data I was collecting. But it resonated. I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I think we are twin flames. But do I even want that? Do I want us to have this kind of connection? From all that I'm gathering and seeing reflected also in us, oh my, I think I have my work cut out for me. What do I do now? What do I do now? Honestly speaking, I never had a solid and clear strategy for handling things. How could I? Nothing that I was experiencing was linear. It was quantum. But finally having an answer to the main question, what the heck is this? Made everything a bit easier. It provided a kind of anchor that centered me and helped me not to lose myself in the process. I truly had my work cut out for me, and I often asked myself, what was I thinking when I signed up for this? This experience was beyond anything I could imagine or ever had heard of. I could find similarities to stories of others, and I could understand the overall framework of this kind of connection. But at the same time, our journey seemed very different too. Overall, 4 years of up and down, back and forth, going in circles, yet strangely always experiencing something new, being separate yet not. And what happened to us after those 4 years? Well, I guess you'd have to stay tuned and find out when I reach that point in the podcast. For now, what I can tell you is that after exactly 4 years of navigating a kind of a separation phase, we were at a choice point. Finally, for the first time again, the threads were fully in our hands, and we could choose the path forward. All or nothing were equally possible. So much time had passed. So much had happened in the meantime. There was such a discrepancy in our development at that point, such a discrepancy in our values. But a path was then chosen, and this time, in a way, by me. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me. There's more to come, so stay tuned if you like.